This is where we talk about how we grow both a powerful brand and business and life as well, because everything's connected. Welcome to Brand and Biz Spills. I'm Debbie White. I've spent 30 years in the creative advertising industry, working with Fortune 500 brands, while also being a serial entrepreneur, building several multiple 6- and 7-figure businesses along the way. I'm talking with other powerful women to share insider secrets and insights about building your brand and business. And I don't have time for BS and fluff. You don't either. So let's get to building a powerful brand and business with some real frank talk. Follow me on Instagram at FranklyDeb so we can connect further. Hey, I want to introduce you guys to our guest today. It is Alison K. Say hi to Alison. Hey, everyone. Alison, yay. Alison is an innovative expert, and she's got a background in fitness with a lot of experience as an entrepreneur.
Yes.
So excited to have you here today.
Thank you for having me.
Things to talk about. Yeah.
I know.
So to me, this is going to be a really juicy conversation because you are one of those entrepreneurs that completely pivoted your business during the pandemic. You and a lot of other people. And I'd love to dig into that experience because I think a lot of our listeners can really learn a lot from how you've handled things. And I will say, Alison has handled them very well. She's doing very, very well.
I learned to, like so many of us, we didn't even know what was going on, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Well, let's go back.
Okay.
I know. Let's go back in time.
Okay.
First of all, I also know, Alison, you've been running your own business for, gosh, how long? How many years now?
Almost 25 years.
25 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
You're like me, a long time.
A serial entrepreneur is what I like to call it.
That's what I call myself as well.
Right.
So we're two serial entrepreneurs with more than 25 years experience running our own businesses. So you've been doing this a long time. 2020 comes around. At the time, you had a brick and mortar fitness gym.
Yep.
Take us back to that and tell us what happened.
Well, to be frank, no pun intended, right? Since I'm your Frankly Deb, right? To be frank, I was on my way. Let me just preface this by saying when 2020 hit, had some things in place to switch things around in my business. But obviously I was kind of working it on my own timetable, right? Like we always do. And then 2020 hits and it's like, I don't think any of us, especially people in my space, the health and fitness space, I don't think any of us really realized the degree of what was happening yet. And so that first month comes around and we're like, okay, all right, so people are going to have to stay home. What are we going to do? Right. So everybody goes online. So, and a lot of the people I was working with at the time were older. So it was like they had a lot of health issues and whatever. Oh, so basically, I watched 70% of my business go out the window.
Overnight.
And you factor in pretty much like within 5 weeks, it was like gone.
Wow. 5 weeks.
And, you do the best you can to work with people that need a workaround, because that's one of the things I do too with the creative workarounds. But I think there were just people that, none of us really knew exactly what was happening, but there were people that just had that technology barrier too, that it was just going to be really tough for me to help them. At least that's what they felt like.
Exactly.
So basically for the first time in my entrepreneurial career, I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I mean, I'd spent my life almost building this business and it's all gone. So I'll just be honest with you. I crawled into a black hole for about 2 months because I was like, I had to let myself feel the feelings. Right.
Yeah.
And then I decided that I had an opportunity and it was time to do something different. So basically what I had to learn to do was find the version of myself that started out all those years ago with no money, fresh out of a fabulous corporate job where I was making good money. And I got the idea that I wanted to work for myself. And I had $1,000 in the bank and a clean credit card. And I just said, I'm going to do it. Worst case scenario, if I fall on my face, I'll find a job. And I had to find that version of me again. That was my big lesson of 2020.
How did you find that version of you? I mean, because I know what it's like to be in that dark hole. I've experienced that several times in my business.
Well, and look, if anyone out there listening if anyone being an entrepreneur has had the seasons in our business where nothing has gone right, right? And then you question and you think, what in the hell am I doing? Right? Am I supposed to be doing this? Maybe there's something else. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And you've got all these worst case scenarios going around in your head. And I think for me, what I had to do was I had to get to a point where I was like, all right, I felt sorry for myself for a little while. The world is changing. I can get on the bus or I can stay right where I am.
Right.
And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, I do not want to go work for somebody else. I just don't, because I had to think. I sat there and I thought, I have written my own ticket for as long as I can remember. And it's like, why can't I just think about this as starting over? And that was really, I had to get to a place where that's how I framed it, that I had to ask myself, okay, right now, what do people need? What do they want? What's really possible here? What can I do that's unique and different? And I basically just started over, and that's where I went from there. But I won't lie to you, there were like 4 or 5 months in there where I didn't know what end was up, like so many other people.
Yeah, I went through that very thing, Allison, like a year prior to the pandemic, which is kind of a blessing. I didn't know it at the time, but I was doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And I did crawl under a rock for about 2 months as well.
Well, and if I'm being honest, 2019 was a good year for me. And then 2020 started off as gangbusters. Like I had a full calendar of retreats planned. Wow. Everything was like shaping up. So I was like, this is going to be the year. And then boom, the bottom fell out. And I think it just, I think for me, what I had to realize is that even though things didn't happen on my timetable, all of that was happening for me. And I had to get to a point where I was okay with that.
That's the hardest thing, isn't it?
It is the hardest thing.
When you can't see around the corner and you're thinking, oh my God, what the hell am I doing?
Well, and I mean, I'll just use a fitness analogy. To me, what I had to tell myself is I'm strengthening a new muscle here. This is a brand new workout. This is something I've never done before. Well, not never done before. I'd sort of done it before, but this is something brand new that I'm going to try. So I tell all my clients, okay, we got to allow some time to see some results here. So for me, that's what it was. It was like every month became kind of a vision of being a detective. Okay, what's working? What's not working? What can I really create here that's going to be fabulous? And what can I do first of all, and then the other thing that came up is what do I really not like doing in my business? This is a great opportunity to kind of throw all that out the window. It was already out the window anyway. So I was like, I might as well just stay there,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, well, tell us what did you end up doing? So you had,
what I ended up doing was there are really 2 stories for me that came out of 2020. One is that it gave me the necessary time that I needed to really focus on building the online pieces the way that I had envisioned like 5 or 6 years ago when I moved my studio to where I am now. And this was like the 4th move, by the way, that I've done. The other thing that came out of that is that I met up and connected with another group of independent business owners in North Carolina. And we were all kind of in the fight together. We were all like trying to reinvent ourselves, and we had each other for support because we all understood like what we were going through. Everybody did. Yeah. And so for me, I was like, okay, this is my support system. There are people out there that get what I'm going through, that get what's happening. And so in all of my conversations with all of them, we started talking about what is nobody doing? What's unique and different out there? And what are things that people are doing that we see everywhere? And what are things that people really need that aren't out there?
Yeah.
So what I ended up doing is in those conversations, people kept asking me, well, how are you doing this? How are you doing this? How are you going online? How are you doing that? I have no idea how all that looks, how all that can, what it can be like. So I just got the idea. I'm going to put all of this on paper as to how I'm reinventing my business. And that is what I teach in my new business accelerator program that I call the Innovate Academy. Because that's basically everything that I've done, over the years. And I can honestly say, like last year, once the storm passed, it was like the sun came out like it had never came out for me last year. So
tell me about that. So you completely transform your business. Now you're teaching other people how to do this.
Yep.
And you said it's never been like this. So what is it like now? Like, tell
me.
Well,
what it's like now is that I can work from anywhere. Number 1.
Okay.
Number 2, I've got clients in different states. I've got clients overseas. I've got people online that I talk to through my podcast, that all of that came out. Really what it is it's unique and creative, different ways to work with people on helping them create the business that they want. Because here's the thing. If 2020 taught us anything, is that everything is changing at breakneck speed. Everything is.
Yep.
Everything is.
Yep.
And the way that we have known normal until now is not going to happen anymore. So if we have a fantastic opportunity, regardless of what space you're in, you can be the leader, you can be the thought leader, you can be somebody that says, hey, I came up with the next big idea, and for me, I just had to remind myself to stay there and trust the process, and it worked.
Yeah. Trust the process. It's so interesting. I'm sitting here listening to you and realizing how much of our path has mirrored each other. I had a very similar experience a year earlier. Mm-hmm. And everything you're saying, I'm resonating with, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers have had similar experiences. What do you feel like was the key to really, because you've really taken off to really take off in the online space? What do you think has really helped you?
I think what's really helped me is and you'll resonate with this because this is a lot of what you teach is that I've had to really challenge myself to drill down on what really makes me different.
Bingo.
Because we get into our stuff all the time and we think, well, this is what I do. This is what I do. I talk about it all the time. This is what I do. How can people not know what I do? But they don't know what you do until you start talking and sharing more about not just what you've been through and how it relates to your life, but what the difference it can make in their life, because it is about them. It's not always about us. We have to share our story, but we have to show them what's possible on the other side.
Oh man, it's so fascinating. I mean, you come from this fitness background. Now you're an innovative expert.
Yep.
And we're speaking the same language. And
I know.
So cool.
I know. It totally is.
Just with different ways, but it's really the same thing. Well, okay, I'm going to bring this up. I wasn't going to, I think I'm going to. So I got the opportunity to basically coach you on an experience.
I know. And it was fabulous.
Here in Mexico. Alison came here and visited me in Mexico. And, so she knows I really drill down in what's unique and different about you, because I think it's hard for us. Tell me, how was that for you? I mean, I know
I think you and I had already talked, a little bit before I came down, and I knew when you started talking about this kind of experience that was something that I wanted to do. But what you helped me realize was probably one of my biggest takeaways from that weekend was you didn't really make me realize it. I already knew it. You just really brought it up more, was that, we take for granted the different ways that we do things. We get so used to doing things the same way. We don't really think there's anything new and different about it.
Absolutely.
But when you started pointing out to me, no, this is what you're talking about. And I'm like, well, this is the outcome. And you're like, well, no, this is really what you're talking about over here. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're right. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Why don't I mention that more as to terms of that's what I'm doing? Mm-hmm. So for me, it just created a whole new area of ideas that I could be talking about in my messaging. And that's really what I'm doing now with all the retreats that I'm doing now, since I'm really stepping into that piece more, because to me, a retreat experience is an innovative example of something that I can do that's new and different in my business. And you really helped me kind of put all that together.
That's so cool. Well, do you feel like, I teach a lot about brand strategy. Some people don't know what that is.
Yep.
I have to talk a lot about what does that mean, but it's really helping us differentiate our brand. So you coming from the background of being having an actual gym, being a fitness coach, moving into this innovative business coaching, and leading retreat space. I'm literally watching you understand the importance of getting your brand messaging on point. And I'm hearing you, without using those words, basically saying that was important. Do you feel like it's important for the viewers watching and listening? They're not watching. Well, some might be watching, listening out there. How important is it for them to get this messaging strategy? Let's call it that.
Well, what people need to understand is, and I think we all, if we're online at all, and I mean, if you have a business now, you absolutely have to have an online presence to survive. You just do. Right. But forget all that for a minute. Think about all the millions of people that are actually online every day doing something, whether they're looking for a flight or they're looking for something that they're going to buy, or they're researching a house or whatever. I mean, I'm just making that up, but you think about all the people that are online. If you don't embrace the fact and talk about what's unique and different about you, really drill down to whatever that is, what you're going to do is you're going to sound like everybody else that's out there. And then you're going to wonder I'm putting out all this great copy. Why in the hell isn't anybody commenting? Why aren't people, and then you sit there and you ask yourself, nobody's seeing my stuff. And I'm like, well, they may see it, they may not. But if you don't talk about and embrace that and really own it, then nothing changes.
Thank you. I mean, can we just let's just play that clip for the rest of the podcast. I can't even tell you how much this is everything.
It is. It is everything.
Well, let's talk about the owning it. Cause you have a very, bold, let's go get him personality. I love that about you.
I do.
An entrepreneur that doesn't have this personality, that is maybe an introvert, maybe more quiet, can they own their
Absolutely. You can still own it. What you have to do is get behind, and here's something that always helps me, is you come up with what is that one thought that you want to leave people with like a post, with a live, or with whatever you're doing online. What is the one thing you want people to walk away from? They might not remember anything else about what you're saying, but they'll remember that one thing. What is it? You got to own that.
Own it.
You do. You got to own it.
You do. Yeah. And I say, you need to own that one thing with your brand. And I say, what do you want your brand to stand for?
Yeah.
And some people are like, I have no idea. I'm like, you got to know.
Well, I mean, I'll just use myself as an example. There are thousands of people out there talking about health and fitness.
Yeah.
There are thousands of people doing at-home workouts. They're doing online sessions. There are even lots of people in my space doing retreats, but they're really not retreats. They're like vacations. They're like getaways. And look, I've got no issue with that. We all need to do that.
Yeah.
But a retreat is a very unique thing. So if you really want if you're doing retreats out there and you're listening, and you want people to really notice what it is that is different about your retreats, then quit talking about it like everybody else. Quit talking about it like this just going to be this fun girls weekend or boys weekend or whatever and get away. What is it that makes your event different? Why should people take a day off of work and travel and come and meet you? What is the one thing you want them to walk away with from that? You got to own it.
I love this. I love the passion. And it's, I'll tell you this, because we have a lot of mutual friends and colleagues, and the women that own it are soaring.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
What do you think stops women from owning it? Because I see this. I work with a lot of women.
I think honestly, and you'll probably agree with me here, and a lot of the conversations that I have with people, what I hear are, well, it's not, I'm too busy. Got other commitments. There are other things that are more important. That's really what you're hearing people say. But underneath all that, I think a lot of women are afraid to own it. I think they're afraid of being judged. I think they're afraid of being told that they're, just out of place, if you will. I mean, I'm the oldest of 4 kids. My dad grew up most of his life with a single parent who was his mother. And so my parents have always encouraged all of us ever since we were little to go after whatever it is that we wanted, even if it was unconventional. So, and I realize there are a lot of women out there that didn't have that upbringing, but I guess my point is that don't be afraid to make yourself different. Don't be afraid to be the one to be something to somebody. You might save their life. You might make them reframe something in a different way that they've never heard before. And what kind of ripple effect will that have? So don't underestimate the little things.
Exactly. And that's really how because I think most women that I work with that haven't made a splash on social media yet, they're afraid of owning their own power.
Yep.
And it really is that there's an insecurity of all of those things, and it holds them back. And every single person I meet has something so special and magical to share.
Yeah.
And then that's exactly right. This is where I say, it's not about you. It's actually not about you at all. It's all about how are you serving these people out there that to your point.
Well, and I guess the other thing that I'll offer is it's so important that we be able to land on our own 2 feet, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I went on and got my master's, and I do all the things that I do, because I know if push ever came to shove, I could land on my feet. I'm single for a long time. Yeah. And I just think it's so important for women out there to understand that you have to really embrace and own whatever that passion is. It's going to make your life not just that much better, but it's going to make everything else in your life better because of it.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I love this so much. I could talk about this all day.
I know.
I know.
Right?
Yeah. So what's in the future for you now? So I know you're doing retreats. I know you're on fire. Tell me about the fire. Tell me about what you're so lit up
Well,
about.
we just got back from Key West. I was actually down there for most of May, and I was kind of conducting a little experiment because part of my plan for the future is to be down in the Keys part of the year, like permanently. And I've been going down there on vacation for years, and it's one of my favorite places. So for the last 4 or 5 years, except for the COVID year, we've done a retreat down there in May. And so this time around, I spent most of the month down there and ended up working from there, which is a fabulous experience.
Oh my gosh.
But we've got a couple other trips coming up. We're taking a group to the mountains this summer. I'm actually doing my very first Innovate retreat right here in Raleigh for entrepreneurs in the health, fitness, wellness, and coaching space.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
Which I'm really excited about.
Yeah.
And then I've got 2 more trips later this year.
I saw that.
We've got that planned. And then we've also going to be opening up our next round of the Innovate Academy this fall as well. So
oh my gosh.
we've got lots of fun things like over here that we're working on. So
where can our listeners and viewers find you?
Well, you can go to my website, but instead of doing that, I would ask you, go follow me on Instagram. Okay. I am the Alison K on Instagram. You will always know what is happening when you follow me over there.
Okay.
I've got a link in my bio with a couple of the trips, and that's the best place that you can get in touch with me. Perfect.
Alison, thank you so much for being here. I hope everyone out there is as fired up as I am right now. You can do it. There's so much possible. Yeah. That's Alison's message.
Yeah. It's always possible.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Thanks for listening to Brand and Biz Spills with your host, Debbie White. Visit franklydeb.com where you can connect with us and join our free Facebook community where all the brand action happens. And I love hanging out on Instagram, so follow me there at frankly.deb. And join us next time for another episode of Brand and Biz Spills. Let's get real on women growing powerful brands.